Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Mike Bidwell, the president and CEO of the Dwyer Group. And Mike Bidwell has been a visionary in the franchise industry for over 3 decades, beginning in 1984 when he opened up his own Rainbow International carpet cleaning and restoration franchise, and later adding a Mr. Rooter plumbing franchise in 1992. Fast forward to January of 2014, where Mike has not only been the president for 7 years, he's now the CEO of the Dwyer Group, the holding company for 17 franchise brands with more than 2,800 franchises in 9 different countries. And we're going to talk to Mike about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Mike Bidwell, the president and CEO of the Dwyer Group. And Mike Bidwell has been a visionary in the franchise industry for over 3 decades, beginning in 1984 when he opened up his own Rainbow International carpet cleaning and restoration franchise, and later adding a Mr. Rooter plumbing franchise in 1992. Fast forward to January of 2014, where Mike has not only been the president for 7 years, he's now the CEO of the Dwyer Group, the holding company of 17 franchise brands with more than 2,800 franchises in 9 different countries. Hi, Mike. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marty. I'm doing very well. It's great to be joining you today.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. It's great to have you on the show. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Mike?
Well, I'm calling from our headquarters in Waco, Texas, which for those of you that may not know where Waco is, it's about 100 miles south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area and 100 miles north of Austin, and most recently famous for being known as the home of Fixer Upper, a very popular show these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you guys affected by the weather in any way, Mike, with the hurricane? Did it hit you at all?
Well, not at our headquarters. We were on the fringe of that, and really,
Okay.
Marty, it was just rainy. It was just like a regular rain for us.
Okay.
So we were very fortunate.
That's good. Well, everybody's safe. You know, the Dwyer Group, I've been following your company for such a long time now, Mike. I think it was back in 1999 I met Don Dwyer Jr., and I remember him talking about his dad, Don Dwyer Sr. What was he like? I mean, did you ever have any interaction with him?
Oh, I did, yeah. Don sold me a business, so sure.
He did.
At least a franchise. Yeah, I joined the company in 1984, and it was started in 81, so it was pretty new. But Don had a lot of early success. Rainbow was the first company, and I came in at age 26 as a franchisee, and 3 years later, he sold me a master franchise territory for the second concept he was venturing in, and I had several interactions with him over the year. He was quite a visionary. He was a little intimidating with, frankly, as a young guy back then.
Really?
To meet with one-on-one, but he was great on a platform, and again, kind of a great promoter.
Yeah, I know today, Mike. He's in the Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame, isn't he? I think he was recognized in the early 2000s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was again, he was one of the luminaries, I'd say, in the franchise community back in the heyday when things were really starting to light up in franchising. And he was a strong contributor in the International Franchise Association and getting them to take action on certain things. And one of the programs that he envisioned and started was a program called VetFran, which we're very proud of today.
It's amazing how VetFran has grown over time, isn't it, Mike? It's really incredible, and I think it's a fantastic program. And it's amazing, because when I started following the Dwyer Group, early on, back in the 1990s, I mean, it was a family, a small family of franchise brands, and it's really amazing, the number of brands that the Dwyer Group has today, Mike. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the history, of kind of like where you began and where you are today. Because again, I'm very familiar with your organization, but some of our listeners may not be familiar with all the brands of the Dwyer Group.
Yeah, sure. So we started in '81, as I mentioned, with Rainbow International, which Don started, and then the second company that came into Dwyer Group that's here today is Mr. Rooter Plumbing, and that was by an acquisition. So Don had several hundred franchisees by 1989 when he acquired Mr. Rooter Plumbing. And Mr. Rooter was public, but it was a small company, and it was only doing $3 million in system sales with about 25 franchisees. So, but again, it was public. So Don acquired that company, and then he liked the idea of being public, so he rolled Rainbow into that and renamed the company to Dwyer Group. So then, at that point, it was public, and early 90s, like 91, that we started Air Serv Heating and Air from scratch. 94, Mr. Electric, which is electrical service and repair from scratch. Mr. Appliance in 86. Now, Don passed away, unfortunately, from a heart attack in 94, and that was while he was vacationing in the Cayman, so that was unfortunate. But so we had all these startups at this point, and I'll tell you, it just about brought us to our knees. In about 98, we realized that we were losing quite a bit of money and had to tighten our belts and such. But we acquired a couple of accounting franchises along the way that we weren't really very good at operating. We managed to sell those, acquired Glass Doctor, and then turned things around and became profitable and continued to acquire some more companies along the way and I'll just fast forward because we've had so many that we've acquired. We've done 10 acquisitions over the last 3 years. And today we have 18 consumer brands, and 16 of those are franchised. We have several that are now international. And that takes us to $1.5 billion in system sales and over 2,700 franchisees, Marty.
It's incredible. It's an amazing story, and especially for you, Mike. I mean, you have this appreciation because you were there in the beginning, weren't you? So I mean, you got to see all this growth firsthand, and to be part of that must have been an amazing experience for you.
It has been. It's been amazing. I've been very fortunate. It was great to actually know Don, and then to be a part of helping to sustain the business, and we've kind of had to make a lot of adjustments along the way. First, for a while there, as I mentioned, just to stay in business and survive. So we had some struggles, but then also to navigate the amazing growth that we've had, and we've had to kind of transform the business over the years to run it differently. Because as you get bigger and as you reach out to these international markets, for example, you can't do things the same way always.
Of course, right. What I liked about your background, Mike, of course, is that you were a franchisee. So I'm sure that helps as far as being the CEO and the president of the organization, that you have this empathy. You know exactly what the franchisees are going through. So I'm sure that works for you, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I like to think it does. I have a great passion for what our franchisees do because I did it. I'm a product of what it is we do, and I really get that everything we do has to work for the franchisee, but really not only the franchisee. It has to work for our service technicians, for the customer, our investors, and anytime you get a little out of balance on any one of those, you're going to struggle. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work for our franchisees, Marty, if it doesn't work for our franchisees, I just know that everything's going to get harder.
Exactly. Well, right, because of going through it. What drew you personally to franchising, Mike, and what do you like about franchising? Because you obviously have this appreciation for it. I mean, you've been doing it, over 3 decades now. So, what is it that you like about it, and what drew you to franchising?
Well, I guess it was a little bit opportunistic. When I got out of university, I went to work for Shell Oil, and I went to school in Arizona, and so my job was in Houston. So. Did well out of school and liked Houston, or liked Shell, not necessarily Houston, but my wife wanted to go back to Arizona before we started family, and I was really happy at Shell, but I kind of liked the idea of being married, so I thought, well, maybe we will consider going back to Arizona, but before we start a family and get back. And so we happen to have our carpets cleaned by a Rainbow franchisee. And I shared the story, we'd like to go back to Tucson, but we don't know what we do there. And he said, well, you ought to think about one of these franchises.
Right.
So one thing led to another, and about a month later, I turned in my resignation, and we were headed to Tucson to open a franchise.
That's a great story. It's almost like divine intervention. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for us, Marty, I guess then it was the opportunity to take some control and be able to live where we wanted to live and kind of create our own situation.
Of course.
And that's what I love about franchising is that, you help people to provide certain degree of control over their life and
Absolutely.
create their own opportunities. And many people that come to us today are, it's varied. Sometimes they want to do what I did and be able to go somewhere and create their own opportunity. Sometimes it's because they're tired of corporate America and getting moved around, or
right.
A lot of the hassles that they have. So, and sometimes they do it because they want to build something for their family, create some wealth, and they're willing to put in the hard work to do that. So, I think it's great.
That's fantastic. How has technology play a role in the business today, Mike? I mean, you've seen a lot of changes, over 3 decades, but is technology a big part of the Dwyer Group today?
Oh, it's huge. It's one of the most important parts of our business, and it's back in the day when I was a franchisee, and even for many years when I came to corporate office, it was kind of a nice to have over the years, and it was kind of good for record keeping. And today you can't function without it. In fact, even marketing has become the most complex and dynamic part of our business, I would say. And to your question, marketing is now the biggest spender of IT in our business. So this has been a very interesting evolution, and you really can't have one without the other. So it permeates everything we do.
Which is the benefit of getting into franchising as well, isn't it, Mike? Is that, of course, the Dwyer Group has a very sophisticated system, and of course there's always people out there that say, you know what, I can do this myself. I can clean carpets myself and start a Tony's carpet cleaning business or whatever it may be. But, your systems today are very sophisticated, aren't they?
Well, they really are. The kind of people that we've had to employ over the years in, for example, marketing and IT has really changed. And we recruit for some of the brightest talent out there. And I don't know how you do it without being connected to something today, because, again, how would you know how to do all this sophisticated marketing, which, again, is very dynamic. What you do today may not work next year, and it often doesn't. So you've really got to stay on top of it. And for us, it takes a whole team of people. We have 50 people in our marketing department today.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing how the company has grown, and again, I have this appreciation in following your company for such a long time now. To see where you are today is really, truly amazing. And you're part of, I guess it's safe to say you're part of several big industries, Mike. The numbers must be extremely high. Just focusing on carpet cleaning and restoration business alone, that's a pretty big industry in itself, isn't it? In addition to all the other brands that you have, you're part of several big industries, I guess it's safe to say, aren't you?
Well, we are. They're all centered around repair, maintain, and enhance. So we do have clarity about that. We haven't. I think you've got to have clarity and focus about what you want to be and what sandbox you're going to play in to be good at something. So everything we do is break, fix, service, maintenance. So we call repair, maintain, and enhance of homes and properties. And that spans 11 service verticals. So again, they're more similar than different with this break, fix, service, maintenance. But it is 11 service verticals, such as plumbing, electrical, HVAC. And since it is 11 service verticals, we estimate it's about $200 billion is our sandbox.
That's amazing. And there must be a lot of cross-marketing involved as well, Mike. You know what I mean? It's very clever how the Dwyer Group has gotten into certain industries, because it seems like there would be a lot of cross-marketing. If you're in someone's home and doing carpet cleaning and restoration, there's all these other businesses that you have the ability to promote as well, isn't there?
Well, that's quite a story. Yes, and I have to tell you, Marty, that for years it's been our dream and our vision to be able to cross-promote our brands to the customer. And we've never been able to execute on it. For a couple of decades we've tried it. We've tried several pilots, and we thought that franchisees would just share customers and that it would be easy, but that never happened. And the reason it didn't happen, well, in retrospect, I guess it's not a surprise. Franchisees are out there busy. Many days there's more to do than you can get done in a day. And they're focused on their own business, and they're focused on just getting their techs to do what they need in their own business. So they're not as worried about growing their neighbor's business.
True.
So it was hard to get them to cross-promote. And so we realized a few years ago if that was ever going to happen, we had to take ownership of that and make it happen.
Right.
And only because, to your earlier question and point, only because of technology getting permeated throughout our business, all the way down to the franchisees and even the technicians, have we been able to take control of that and expose customers from one brand to the other. And so we're now doing that. And we've launched a new brand to connect the dots. So we have this overarching brand that we call Neighborly.
Okay.
And you can go to a site that's called getneighborly.com, and you'll find all of our services there, and you can schedule service. You can schedule reminders about things around your home. You can find tips how to do things about your home. But now when a customer has one of our brands out and they have a great experience, we send a follow-up email, and we'll expose them to the other brands, and we'll turn them on to blog content they might be interested in. And through that, we're now connecting the customer across brands.
It's really very clever, isn't it? Like, how you say, technology fits in and made that happen. And as you describe it, yes, it does make sense why, franchisees, you're right, they're worried about their business, and they're not worried about promoting someone else's business. They're busy, so it does make sense. Today here you are, you're the president and CEO of the Dwyer Group, Mike. How did you become so successful in franchising? Did you envision yourself, if you go back 30 years ago, to being a CEO and president of such a big company?
Not really. To be frank, my original plan was when I had done although I bought my franchise fairly quick when I was a young guy, I did do some due diligence. I made a few phone calls with some successful franchisees and met with them, and I'd found that there were a couple of them that had built their business up and in a few years sold it for more money as an existing business and then did some other things, and that was my plan. I thought I would move back to Tucson and start this business, and then after like 3 years, I would sell it and then get reestablished and figure out what I really wanted to do from that point on. But it kept growing and growing, and then I became, I brought on additional concepts, and then I was invited to be a brand president and sell my businesses. And so, frankly, it's just kind of been this unfolding of opportunities that we haven't seen an end to it yet. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Yeah, it really is. It's a great story, and researching your background, Mike. What's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since becoming, the president and CEO of the Dwyer Group, Mike? I know you probably have hundreds of stories, that we could talk about over the 30 years, but, as your role as CEO and president, does anything stand out?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. From a very experiential level, it's being able to operate on a national basis and even an international basis today and build something of significance across markets like that. That's been pretty cool. But probably the most, I'd say the thing that stands out the most was because of the International Franchise Association, and they're organizing a franchising event every year on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. to lobby on behalf of small business and franchising. The opportunity to sit in congressmen's offices and converse with them about these topics, and then also to get on the Senate floor and see how they all vote and have a congressman tell us about how all this works. And we've done that for a number of years now, but that was pretty cool. I'm not sure everyone gets that opportunity.
No, I was just going to say that, Mike. I was like, how many of us get to say that we've actually done that? You get to watch it on TV, of course, but to see it firsthand must be an amazing experience for you. That's really fantastic. Maybe we could talk a little bit about franchising, Mike. The majority of our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. Most of them have it in their mind that they want to go into franchising. What types of characteristics then does the Dwyer Group look for in their franchisees?
Well, we find that the franchisees that do the best are those that really participate in the franchise community. They network with their other franchisees. They come to the meetings. They talk and are welcoming with the headquarters staff, and they want the support and the help. So it's folks that, number one, they're willing to follow a system and have belief in a system, and they're just here to execute. And so that's what we really want franchisees to do, is execute. We don't want them to experiment with the system and tinker.
Sure, of course.
And also folks that want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of a community. Those are the ones that we really look for. We find those do the best.
It seems like, in studying the Dwyer Group, Mike, that there is certainly a culture there. I watched a lot of the videos, and it does seem like it's a great culture and kind of like a family type of culture at the Dwyer Group. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. It's not by accident. We pay a lot of attention to it. Maybe it was by accident just because of our personalities when we first started, but then we thought, well, as we grow, we need to maybe formalize this a little more and put a little structure around it, because we have several remote offices today. We have 8 offices around the world, and how we extend our culture to those offices is something I do worry about, and we just want to make sure that we do protect it, because you're right, we do have we think a special environment today, and we want to make sure it stays that way. But it's a very collegial environment. We're very much about helping grow people, and not with just hardcore business stuff. We want to make a difference in people's lives. So we often talk about lifestyle, and we think there's a better way to do and conduct business, and we're living it, and we want to make sure that we preserve it.
That's fantastic. I like how you're talking about too. To be successful, Mike. I think it's the sharing of best practices is really important, isn't it, in franchising? It's not just enough to buy a franchise and own a franchise, but I think that sharing of best practices, with other franchisees is really important, isn't it?
It really is, and that's why I think it's important to come to the meeting and go visit other franchisees and connect with them. But franchising in general, Marty, I've found to be a very collegial type community. We do a lot of networking with other franchisors, and we participate in the franchise meetings, the International Franchise Association Convention, and other meetings. And I've just found it to be a very open and cooperative community.
What is the training like, Mike? I mean, for any of the brands, I imagine, once you decide you like them, they like you, and, they do come aboard as a franchisee. Do they typically come out to the headquarters in Texas? Is that how it works?
Well, they do. We want to meet every franchisee actually before they come in to the business face-to-face, certainly, and they should want to meet us. But when they get here, training starts it could be at several of our campuses now, depending on the brand, but it is anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks for initial training. And what makes some longer is we do some technical or operational training with some of the brands, such as Rainbow, the restoration. And then some of the other brands we don't, like Mr. Rooter Plumbing. We're not teaching people how to be a plumber. We're teaching them about business concepts and our system. So that training is typically a week, and then there's follow-up. Well, there's pre-training before they get there, and that's all done remotely, which is anywhere from 30 to 40 hours. And then there's follow-up training after that. So there's a level 2 training that we're gonna do on site in their business, or they're gonna come, and they'll also come back to Waco or regional conferences and regional trainings. One of the things we wrestle with is we'd like to keep them for like a month or more, but that's difficult when people are trying to, they're away from home and they're trying to get up and running. And so we try to spoon feed them a little. So the key is to give them just enough to get out open and start to deliver on the brand's promise in an effective enough manner. And then you trickle out some more. So it really takes about a year to get somebody where we really need them need them to be to where they can really hit on all cylinders.
What advice would you give to our listeners, Mike, in their quest to buy a franchise? Because as you know, you've been doing this such a long time now, and you've seen a lot of changes in franchising. What always amazes me is the number of concepts, coming into, I guess you could say, the franchise arena. It's always fun going to the shows and you see all these interesting concepts. You say, God, I would never thought of, that type of business franchising, that model. But there's so much out there today that we find that, our listeners are a little confused in the beginning phase. So from everything that you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
Well, I think probably the single most important thing, I believe, is for them to talk to other franchisees doing what they're contemplating. And not only talk to them, I'd go visit some. Spend a day in the life. Number one, see if you would, it may sound good and sound like an opportunity. See if you can identify with it. Will you like the environment? Will you like the work? And then, again, getting face-to-face with people that are doing it and asking them, would you do this again? Are you happy you did it? That really is, the proof's in the pudding there.
Sure,
so you're going to hear whether they're happy with their franchise or they like the concept, they like the industry. So that would be I think the most powerful single thing that somebody could do.
That's terrific. The background of your franchisees, Mike, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of diversity. What were a lot of your franchisees doing before becoming franchisees? I mean, you had that corporate background. Are a lot of your franchisees coming from corporate America? Where are they coming from?
Gosh, it's so diverse, Marty. Yeah. It's all over the place. Many of them are corporate America. They're managers of businesses and in corporations that, for whatever reason, they want to try their own thing. Some come up through their current industries, so they could be a manager for another plumbing company, for example, and now they want to venture off and have their own business. And then other are ex-military. We have quite a number of ex-military. So it's really all walks of life.
And that diversity adds to the character of a franchise, doesn't it, Mike? As the franchise gets bigger and bigger, it seems like that diversity certainly makes I imagine the franchise stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And you really don't know what's inside somebody. Self-employment certainly isn't for everyone. And as much as we'd like to be able to predict success, absolutely, we can't. So you never know who's really got a knack for this, and many times you're surprised. Sometimes you're not sure that this particular person might be wired for this, and boy, then they go out there and just tear it up, and it's which is really, really kind of fun to see.
That's terrific. A lot of the literature on you, Mike, that I've read about you, it describes you as a visionary. Where do you see the Dwyer Group maybe 3 to 5 years down the road, if you can look into a crystal ball?
Well, I see our neighborly platform really taking off and taking advantage of changing consumer preferences and how they shop and select products and services. And I think with what we're doing with aggregating these different service verticals in a single destination where they can find trusted, vetted service providers is really going to pay dividends for us and our franchisees. So we hope to create and expect to create a household name in North America with that brand, and we'll be today we're $1.5 billion in system sales, and in about 3 more years, probably a little potentially less, we'll be at $2 billion, driving to $2 billion. So we expect to be an 800-pound gorilla in the services space, frankly.
Of course. That's fantastic. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on the Dwyer Group and on all the brands, as a franchise opportunity, of course, Mike, and even the services itself? Are there any websites that you'd like them to take a look at?
Well, certainly they can go to dwyergroup.com and then you can link out to our various brands there. I would also encourage folks to go to getneighborly.com. And as a consumer, you may want to peruse that site, and I'm sure if you're a homeowner, you're going to be very interested in what's there. And if you like what you see, you can even set up a login and user ID. But you could also find some of our service providers there. So those are a couple of good avenues.
That's terrific. Well, I have to say, it was a privilege to finally have the chance to talk to you, Mike. I've been familiar with your name for quite some time now, so to be able to speak to you today has really been a privilege for me. And I'd already like to invite you back, the next year or so as you continue to grow, because I think the Dwyer Group is really an amazing franchise.
That sounds great, Marty. I appreciate your time. It's always fun to talk about the business and franchising. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mike. You too. It was nice talking to you, Mike. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities, or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822. Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. Franchise Interviews has been hosting Franchise Interviews for almost 6 years now, and almost 300 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today you're going to get to hear from Art Collet, who is the president of Alpha Graphics, and Art has a wonderful quote. He says that franchising is one of the greatest inventions for small business, and he kind of expands why, so here we go.
Fantastic program. I mean, when I saw it, I said I thought this was very exciting for you guys, and it's going to be interesting to watch it. I mean, it sounds like your franchise partners are certainly going to appreciate something like this, and I guess that's the benefit of getting into franchising as well, isn't it, Art? Is to have a program like this, a very strong program that the franchisees can really benefit from.
Yeah, I tell you, Marty, you said something earlier. I was saying earlier about that nearly 10 years of restaurant ownership. Mm-hmm. There were months, Marty, and we were not a franchise. There were months, Marty, where I begged for somebody to send a royalty check to, because I thought, man, if somebody could bring me some turnkey marketing programs, if somebody could bring me some training solutions that were already ready to go for the employees and how to hire them and who's the right person, how to recruit them, if somebody could bring me a process for creating more traffic at my restaurant or operational workflow and checklist. Marty, I believe, and I've had people, great people like, Bud Hadfield, and I can, go down the list of just the names of people that have, are in my cell phone that I can call anytime. I mean, John Luther over at Dunkin' Brands and Jim Amos, who, led mailboxes, et cetera, and all these names. I think I'm honored being on your show today, just knowing those guys.
Thank you.
People like that are people that you've interviewed. But, franchising, I believe, is the greatest invention for small business ownership.
Yeah.
Because franchising doesn't change the fact that you're still a small business owner.
Exactly.
All franchising should do, I mean, my job as president of Alpha Graphics is to take people who have decided they want to be a small business owner and they want to do it in this arena of providing visual communication solutions, whether that's document solutions or marketing solutions. But my job as president of Alpha Graphics is just simply to take the hurdles that may be 6 feet high if you're out there on your own trying to do it yourself, and let's take them down to 6 inches. The hurdles are still there. You're still going to have employee issues. You're still going to have operational issues. You still need to have somebody. You're still going to deal with your financials in your business. And I think sometimes prospective franchisees forget that.
Yes.
They forget that they're still. They may possibly think the franchisor is going to take those problems away. And there are some that we do remove off the table, but for the most part, they're all still there. We just have systems and approach and coaching and support to help you manage that. And now it's a little speed bump in the road in the road instead of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising by Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.